towels, etc., away from the stove top, even when the stove is off. Never store items on top of the stove, cooktop, or inside of the oven. Keep a lid nearby to smother small grease fires. Smother the fire by sliding a lid over the pan and turning the stove off. Only plug one heat-producing appliance, such as a coffee maker, toaster, or etc., into an outlet at a time. And create a 3-foot child and pet-free zone around your cooking area. That is our safety tip for this month. Are there any questions at this time?
Okay, starting with questions from the board.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment, Harris Nakamoto. But I'd like to just to thank, I in our neighborhood area, I just want to send a great appreciation to one of your Daryl Mao, who represents for you folks in the community, and he comes out and really comes with the idea to serve, and is very instrumental in a lot of the things and provides a lot of knowledge and education. So I just want to thank him and thank HFE for supporting him too. So appreciate it.
Of course, and you'll probably hear from Mr. Dow a little bit later. He's got some great information to share with you folks this evening.
Okay, Sam.
Yeah, did they ever get the lock squared away with the building? And the entrance up to, yeah.
Sorry, Sam, you were super quiet at the start. Would you mind repeating your question?
Did they ever get the lock issue squared away with the emergency exits in this building?
If you're referring to that exterior latch at the end of the stairwell down here,
yeah,
we don't think it's there anymore. We didn't see it walking in.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, okay.
I think it got taken care of. So
All
should
right.
be okay there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
That's it.
any questions from attendees? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy your evening.
Then next up, we have Honolulu Police Department.
Good evening, everyone. Winston Leong, HPD, District 1 Patrol, Day Watch. So the statistics for October 2024.
Sorry, would you mind bringing the mic down a smidge? Thank you.
For motor vehicle thefts, we had 14 this for the month of October. The previous month was 25. For burglaries, we had 4 the month of October. The previous month was 7. For car break-ins, 14. Previous months were 33. For assaults, 7 compared to 11 the prior months. For sex assaults, we had 1. We also had 1 the month prior. Graffitis, 0. Drug cases, 0 compared to the prior month. So the total number of calls of service is 2,088 compared to 2,441. So safety tip for us today is lock and secure your cars in your houses. Especially this neighborhood, a lot of cars are parked in the streets. Make sure we lock our doors, open windows, because a lot of these crimes are happening because of opportunities. They see an open door or open window, they're going to reach in and grab, steal what they can from it. They walk past the window that's open in a house. A lot of houses here, a lot of apartments, they're going to try to break in. So secure your items, secure your cars, and everything. That's probably the best thing you can do to help us prevent all these thefts and car break-ins. Also tonight, we have Lieutenant Farrell here from the Night Watch, District 1. We have our Captain Henry Roberts from our District 1 and Major Paul Komodo from District 1. I think they'd like to say a few words. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Okamoto. I'm the Major for District 1. The captain and I were both promoted into this position December of last year, so almost about a year into our term here. I just wanted to say that this is my very first assignment out of the academy in District 1. So this is a full circle assignment for me. I just made 25 years, eligible to retire soon. So I don't know how long I'm going to stay, but really it is a full circle assignment for me. Went from patrol officer, and now I'm major of the district, responsible for everything that occurs in the district. Really the captain and I and the lieutenants, we really made our focus to be homelessness. And we really want to treat these people with dignity and respect, but we really feel like they cannot monopolize our public spaces, right? So We have been doing some enforcement. You might have noticed around this area, we've tried to clean it up as best we can and really send services to the homeless before we do enforcement. That's part of our plan. Just for example, Cartwright Field here, the captain and I went over before we did any enforcement action. We actually talked to the people there, told them to expect enforcement, and that we had, it's just a culmination of complaints that we received. We just have to take action, right? So we explained to them what was going to happen. We actually partnered up with IHS. We have biweekly meetings with them. We asked that they come down and provide some services to them. But you really have to understand that a lot of these people suffer from either mental illness or alcohol or drug addiction. And really, some of them are not able or willing to take services at the time. But we do send them anyway. We do give them that option. And then we start doing enforcement, right? Compassionately do enforcement while simultaneously trying to give them services, right? See if they'll take it. And it really has, I think, made the community better. I don't know if you've been by Cartwright recently, but it looks much better. And we sort of use this model in all of our public spaces in our parks. Some of the projects that we've been working on, the Punchbowl, lower Punchbowl area, right above Prospect, that was a big project. We I think maybe about a month and a half ago or 2 months ago. So we had to partner up with Punchbowl, the federal government, with the state government, because they had some adjacent land there with Hawaiian Homes, who owned a lot of that area, and also with IHS. So we actually sent IHS up there for a few weeks before we did the enforcement to go and actually, make sure that the people, understand that someday, because they were trespassing on private property, that some days some enforcement is coming. And we set up a drone, identified campsites, and then we went in to trespass warn everyone. And so I think the people that lived sort of in the condos, I mean, they used to see at night some like tires burning and some campfires and stuff. That was a really big concern for them because they didn't want the entire mountain to be ablaze, right, with fire. But really, that was a really positive project that we just completed maybe a month and a half ago. I understand people, intermittently will go back, so we will follow up on that just to make sure that we have continuous enforcement from time to time, so that it doesn't get to the point where we have to do a major operation. We've also been working on the canal that runs from Kalakaua all the way up to Makiki. Underground, there's been a lot of people living in the stream, and that we've been addressing that with our bicycle and ATV detail. And I think that's particularly important because we know the rains are coming in the winter, and we don't want, unfortunately, if it floods, I mean, people are gonna get killed. So we really do want to address that, and we have been. So these are some of the things that we've been working on in your area in Makiki. I hope that you've seen there's been some improvement, and really there are some ancillary benefits to us doing this kind of thing, right? I was talking to the chair before about this, but we really have been seeing a decrease in burglaries and vehicle break-ins and all these other property crimes. I think because we have been doing these homeless enforcement, and we've been trying to make the community more beautiful. So I'll be around for a little while. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you very much. And then we'll go ahead and start with questions from the board. Eric.
In regards to people living in the stream, I did notice about a week after our last neighborhood board meeting, you guys cleared out on Nehoa and Makiki Street, the underpass or the overpass. There's that fenced in area, and you guys were on it and cleared out the homeless that were living underneath the road on Makiki Stream. And it seems like that's they get cleared out, and then you guys came back like I think a few days later and cleared out again. So thank you very much. They've been habitually going underneath there, hopping over that fence.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you guys cleaning that up very quickly, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for that. Really, it's one of the, I guess when we start enforcing in the parks and in more of the public areas, the unfortunate consequences that we drive them more into the mountain or into these areas, right, that are more hidden. But really, the goal is to get them into shelter, right? And so we do have to continue the enforcement, unfortunately.
And so one other thing I've noticed too in our neighborhood, I live on Round Top Drive. I've been hearing, I mean, it's been brought up in our last meeting, gunfire up in the mountains. I can hear it. It's deeper. It's up the mountain on Tantalus side, where there's less houses. But randomly, I'll hear gunfire. I can tell it's not fireworks. Years previous, I would never hear gunfire, but of recent past few months, I have been hearing gunfire. You were probably just doing target practice or something.
Is hunting allowed up there? I don't know. I mean,
No,
it's not.
no, but it's just something I've noticed of recent is more gunfire, you know, and it's more than just one round. It's definitely a full clip.
Oh, I see.
And I know it was called in, it was brought up last meeting. But yeah, it's just something I've noticed of recent. This is strange.
I'll get together with our lieutenants to discuss what we can do. But if it's up in the mountains, I mean, really, the likelihood of our officer actually hiking in there is basically zero, right?
Yeah. For sure.
You know, if it's happening at the lookouts, that's something we can definitely address, right? Especially if they're congregating up there, because the lookouts close. It's still closed, right? At 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, so I see we'll go with Ian first, then Chuck, then John. Okay, Ian.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm going to change my camera here. Here we go. Thank you very much. You know, I just want to concur what we're hearing about for the population of encampments in the streams. I did get another update from some of the neighbors along Liho that the encampment has grown already. Again, JC Mikulinek let me know about that issue. We also have a resolution a little bit later today. So I just want to ask you about one part of it. We were hearing that enforcement's made a little bit easier with clearer no trespassing signage. This is something which I've been told by other officers, and maybe now's a good time to get it clarified that if we had more conspicuous no trespassing signs along the Makiki stream, would this actually make enforcement any easier for you folks? Thank you very much.
Yes, 100%. Signage is everything for us. And, you know, if we want to make a prosecutable case, with the prosecutor's office, we require that there be some sort of notice, right? Or a lot of times they'll sort of throw the case out. So definitely, if it's state property, no trespassing signs, super important. If you guys, I don't know if you guys ever go down by the Kalakaua and Kapiolani stream, Kalakaua Kapiolani. That area right by that Jack in the Box is really, really bad for many, many years. And it really was a coordinated effort with the FM and all these other agencies where we put up signs and we conducted a big cleanup and just regular enforcement of those signs, of the signage, because we put trespassing signs all the way up on both sides of the canal and actually down into the canal. So that seems to be a workable solution, right? So once we get proper signage in there and we just do constant regular enforcement, I think we can get rid of that problem.
Chair, I just want to add, I believe that was Kalakaua and South King.
King, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's relevant because we'll be talking about
King.
that later today. Thank you very much.
Okay, Chuck.
Yeah, Major, I gotta commend you and your whole team because the results are noticeable about the homeless. And I commend you also for being very compassionate and going out and actually talking to them. I don't think enough of that kind of stuff is done. So I commend you and your team. The question I wanted to ask you was, this is in regards to the intersection at Pensacola and Lunalilo. And especially going up Lunalilo onto the on-ramp. Okay, I live very close to that area. And every time I'm at that intersection, there's always at least 2 or 3 cars running the red light. Very dangerous. And when you're coming down on Pensacola, the cars are ready to go. They got to jam on their brakes. And, you know, you hear a lot of horn tooting and stuff. You guys have been there before, and I appreciate that. But if you could just check every once in a while.
Okay. Are we talking about Pico and Lunalilo or Pensacola coming?
Lunalilo, going up Lunalilo and down the intersection right by.
Okay.
When you're going onto the on-ramp.
I see. They're trying to get on the freeway. I see what
Right.
you're saying. Okay. Yeah, and part of the projects that we run in the district, in addition to the homelessness, is actually that area, especially like Picoy, Lunalilo. That area is, even when I was a foot officer, brand new at academy, that was like one of those places where we constantly got 25 years ago we got complaints about that area, right? So yeah, it is a part of our rotation in our district projects, and we will be taking a look at that area. I actually did. I actually know the Department of Transportation, the deputy, and so I did have this email conversation with him. He's a classmate of mine, and so we did talk about that. And there are like sightline restrictions, I think, so it has to be a fairly large intersection for them to actually do the red light. Yeah. So I think short answer to that was it would be difficult. Yeah. Yeah. No problem.
Okay, John.
I wanted to get the report on my request last time. The lady that lives in Arcadia owns an apartment in Puno Cliffs, and she's tried to lease it out. The homeless people living in the stump there have chased her tenant away. And so we need to be able to get those guys out of there. Did you look into the matter and see what's going on there?
For sure. Did you make a formal complaint to the
Yeah,
district?
right, it was on the minutes last month.
Oh, okay.
The captain.
Let me go look at that.
Yeah.
I think the best way to do it is actually you can call our office, or you can email me, or what the problem is, and then
Okay,
what
yeah.
I see what we can do about it. We can take a look.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, the gunfire up on the top of Tantalus is mostly pistol, not rifle.
Pistols?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can tell the difference between pistol and
Not
rifle.
hunting or anything like that. It's just like, okay, gotcha.
Okay, so John, I see that is not in our minutes, so I recommend you make that complaint.
Please take a look at my information there on the sign-in sheet, and you can either call or email me. Yep.
Yep. Okay, and then Richard.
Major, yeah, I talked to you earlier about, I came in this evening, the parking lot pretty full down by the skate park. Right, that area there. They're tailgating, taking up a spot. As I was pulling in to turn to parks, a guy came out on a skateboard. I mean, he wasn't going really fast, but it was right down the middle of the driveway. So you mentioned that, does the lieutenant have you folks got any complaints about that? Because it can be a little intimidating. You're trying to find parking spaces and they're skateboarding down in the parking area.
This is Lieutenant James Farrell. He's the nighttime lieutenant, opposite of Lieutenant Sagusio, who's usually here.
I think we work nighttime. Normally, we haven't had much complaints about that. Maybe the day watch guys might have more experience with that. But I know what you're talking about. I was just parking in the same area and saw some skateboard activity. I'm thinking, like, we built you a park. Please use that, not the parking lot. But we can kind of keep an eye on that and see if it's becoming an issue.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll send some guys afterwards just to see if they're okay.
Okay, and I think I see Ian's hand up again.
Yeah, sorry, I'll be really brief. I just wanted to mention this, Chair. We were hearing about the skate park pouring out the skaters out of the skate park area, and I think now is just an important time for the board to just remember our previous discussions and trying to get additional lighting there. This time of year, it gets really dark around there really quickly. And, I'm not standing up for any disruption they're causing, but I do want to highlight their utilization of the park gets a lot more difficult a lot earlier than other folks. Thank you.
Okay, and then seeing no more questions from the board, I believe I see one from the attendees. Go ahead, Deb Uemura.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. Uemura. And I have a question, and I noticed on the agenda that there was an issue talking about parking traffic concerns and enforcement. I live in the Queen Victoria residences, so I'll be very transparent about that. And we've had continual parking violations in front of our neighbor, Chick-fil-A, where there's a no parking sign during certain hours, as well as a fire hydrant and blockage of our driveways. What kind of enforcement is going to be done? Because right now we do call 911 police non-emergency, but we really don't get any response. Is there some kind of advice or guidance that you can give us?
They should be responding, right? If you're calling 911, they should be dispatching a police officer. It's broken up into priority 1 and priority 2 calls. So District 1 is the busiest patrol district on the island. Even though we're the second smallest, we have about maybe 130,000 or so unique calls for service a year. So we are a fairly busy district. But they should be dispatching somebody. When we're very, very busy, those calls might get displaced towards the lower end of priority. And it might take a while for the officer to get there, but dispatch should be sending somebody to specifically address those complaints. Now, I think these kind of complaints are hard because they're sort of, I don't know what the word, ephemeral, I guess. They come and
gone
go.
by the time
Yeah,
somebody comes.
exactly. I think the best thing I can do to tell you is just to keep calling 911. And we also have a 311 app. If it's like at a certain time, you might want to use that app to make a complaint, and then it'll be part of our ongoing system of regular checks for the next week or two.
Right, and I have done that also.
Okay, I see.
But I guess my next question is, Baratani Street, South Baratani Street is a straight access, going down to the main station, and we see multiple police cars driving past. And even if the police car drives past and there's illegal parking on the street, they don't stop. So I guess that's my frustration and my.
I got you. Yeah, I understand. And I'm not here to make excuses, but parking complaints might not be on the top of their to-do list. I'll be very honest with you. Or maybe they're heading to a call. I don't know, but definitely I think the best thing to do is to keep calling 911 when it happens, and or use the 311 app to make a complaint. And like I said, it'll be part of our system to make continuous checks for the next week or two.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and are there any more questions from the attendees? I believe, given that we are talking about parking and traffic concerns now, I believe if anyone regarding Queen Victoria, now would be a good time. Nope. Okay. Back to Harris.
This is more for Lieutenant Farrell. For a while, right, where I live on Kinao, but then, so I just saw a couple of the residents at the Coronet, the condominium. So, and usually on Fridays and Saturdays, then there's a lot of speeding on the freeway, right on the inside. And usually between 11 and 1:30, 2 o'clock is the raceway time. So that straightaway that's going from the ward on ramp towards Punahou, they coming around or they're coming back from Waikiki coming in, and so for a while it kind of stopped, and I think because there were some citations or done, but now they're coming back and then more coming out. So I just wanted to see if there's within that window of time.
From 11 p.m. you said till
11 p.m. to about 1:30.
Okay. I know. I think this was we actually did have a complaint like that before. I referred that to the traffic division. I believe they did some enforcement. What's difficult is that our stretch is our district is kind of very narrow, all the way up to the Tantalus and all the way down to Ala Moana. So the actual freeway that we're in charge of is very small, and it's kind of difficult to sort of stage in that small area to try and to do enforcement. Let me refer that to the traffic division. Yeah, for sure, and we'll see if they can do some enforcement during those times, weekends or all time. Friday, Saturday. Okay, yeah. Okay.
So sometimes I'll actually go out and walk from my house. I stand on the overpass.
Yeah.
See 'em.
Believe it or not, the noise complaints are second to the homeless complaints that we get. So yeah, it is a quality of life issue for sure. Yeah, for sure. I'll refer that complaint. Yeah.
Okay, next, Eric.
And sorry, and in regards to that, I think a lot of the racing in his area is related to the area that I'm on, Round Top Drive. They're making their way a lot of times to Round Top Drive, right? They use Round Top Drive in town
Yes.
as a
Sort of a circuit.
A circuit. And so if I feel like if we can somehow shut down Round Top Drive and Tantalus from then they'll stay out of our neighborhood altogether because they're making their way. I'm on the bottom part of Round Top. I'm on the straightaway, the very right behind the pumping station. And as soon as they get around onto Round Top Drive, they floor it, and it's usually packs of 4 to 5 cars at a time. And it's throughout the night.
Sure.
But if we somehow can come up with a plan to shut down their fun zone, which is Round Top Drive, it would help all of us in this area. I brought up, speed humps on Round Top.
Yeah, that's what I was going to actually say.
Because I know you guys are stretched thin, but maybe things like that would
have you tried to pursue
discourage
that?
them.
Have you tried to pursue the speed humps with maybe?
I don't know
the
how
speed-
to pursue that necessarily about getting the fun. Because I know funding is.
I think that's
part of it.
DTS. It's got to be DTS. Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
it's got to be.
I think that would help you
Sure.
guys and all of us.
Sure.
If we shut down Round Top Drive.
And that's something that I have a Tantalus Community Association meeting on Sunday. I think that's at 11 o'clock. So I'll be there if any of you want to be there in Tantalus. But that's one of the things I think that they wanted me to talk about. But yeah, I think the speed humps would work, right? These cars that are built for drifting are very low, have very low clearance. I don't know how they're going to manage going over those humps, especially at the end of the straightaway or even at bottom of the turn or whatever. So I think there are ways that they could through environmental design, I guess, or road design, where I think you could discourage a lot of that. I know somebody there, like I said, maybe I can shoot them an email, right? And maybe you can start that conversation.
That'd be great.
Yeah. And then I'll follow up. I'll have Lieutenant Sugusio come back and follow up. Yeah.
Okay, do we have any final questions? We have kind of an all-star police cast tonight. So if there's any burning questions you have, now is definitely the time. Okay, seeing none, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate
for
it.
making it down
Thank you.
today. Okay, next up we have Board of Water Supply, Michelle Harmon.
Good evening, everybody. Michelle Harmon with your Board of Water Supply report. So this month I have 2 main breaks. One was on October 14th, 8-inch pipe at 2131 Makiki Heights Drive. It was installed in 1993, that one. And then the second main break was on October 16th, a 4-inch pipe, and that was at 2345 Mauna Loa Road. And we don't have an installation date for that pipe. For your general water announcement, we invite everybody who's looking for position to check out our webpage at www.boardofwatersupply.com/jobs. We have full-time positions in engineering, information technology, customer care, administrative support, and much more. We also will announce on those pages when we have positions open for interns as well. So that's all I have for you this month, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, any questions starting with the board? Richard.
Yes, hi, good evening. Could you folks give us a report in the future about plastic pipes as opposed to metal pipes? Are we using a lot of plastic in pipes now?
Okay, I'll get more information for you on that. I have heard about it, but I that's not my expertise, so I'll have a report for you hopefully next month. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, and seeing no more questions from the board, do we have any questions from attendees? Seeing none, thank you very much, Michelle.
Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great evening. Aloha.
Okay, and moving on from the monthly reports to board business and presentations. Filling of 2 vacant seats in Sub-District 1. Tantalus, Motsmith, Heulu, and 1 vacant seat in Subdistrict 2, Kinau, Lower Makiki, Kewalo. Interested residents must bring proof of residency to the board meeting or contact neighborhood assistant Curtis Hayashi to verify residency in advance. Do we have anyone here to fill those vacancies? If you could, we could feel you right now if you'd like to come up and give a short introduction.
Evening, everyone. My name is Kimberly Gallant. I've lived in Makiki my whole life. I have an interest about participating in the board. I'm here just to kind of observe and learn more about what's happening. And thank you very much. I don't know if you have any questions.
Okay, so you're absolutely sure you don't want to
I'm
fill the vacancy now?
not right this second.
Okay.
Yes, not right this second. I think I need a little bit more time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, our next meeting's in January, so hopefully that
Okay.
you come with the same ardor as you did tonight.
Well, thank you.
Okay, and seeing none others interested in the board, are there any? Yeah, none online as well. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to the election of board secretaries since our secretary resigned. Do we have anyone willing to be our secretary? Any nominations?
Sure. Why don't you let me know what the cloth or what you have to do in that role?
Okay. Okay, the duty of the secretary is to review the, sorry. Yep. All right, just to review the written summary every month.
If we don't have a neighborhood assistant, we can have a meeting without them. But then the secretary has to take minutes. You know, and it's happened once every 3 or 4 years, something like that. So that's a background responsibility. But it never happened. It's okay.
Okay. 5 minutes ago? No.
Okay, since there are no nominations, we'll push this off, I guess, until January. Okay, and then next up is the approval of the written summary for the video record. Basically, that's our minutes. Are there any corrections? I think the one that I noted was we didn't have John's little bit about stuff that happened by your place. I'm not sure what. Here you go.
The homeless person living in the sump, scaring a lady in Puno Cliffs.
Yeah. So you want to add that to the minutes, correct? Just under the I guess HPD report, because you questioned them there. Any objections to amending the minutes to add Steelquist's remarks? Okay, seeing none. Is there any objections to adopting our minutes as amended? Seeing none, we have our minutes. Okay, next up, city presentation, sewer service charge increase proposal with Deputy Director Michael O'Keefe. Thank you very much for making it down tonight.
Aloha. Thank you, board, for having me. Mike O'Keefe, Deputy Director with the city's Department of Environmental Services. So what I want to talk briefly about tonight is our planned sewer rate increase. I'm going to cover three main topics. The sewer rates themselves are proposed to increase annually over a 10-year period starting next year, July 2025. If you're familiar with your sewer bill right now, the structure of the bill is going to change as part of this proposal. And third, we are going to be introducing a customer assistance program. We don't currently have one. It's going to be a needs-based or an income-based customer assistance program. But first, I just want to start off briefly with some background about what my department, what the city's Department of Environmental Services does. So we maintain all of the city's wastewater and solid waste infrastructure. On the solid waste side, that includes our refuse collection fleet that services 200,000 homes around the island. We manage the city's landfill, the Waimanalo Gulch landfill. We manage the H-Power facility, the waste energy facility, 7 recycling drop-off centers, 3 transfer stations, and a few other things, but those are the biggest parts. But what I really want to talk about tonight is the wastewater program. On the wastewater side, we operate and maintain 9 wastewater treatment plants, 72 wastewater pump stations, and 2,100 miles of sewer pipes. So that's our department at a quick glance. We have about 900 people working for us. Why are our fees proposed to go up? Some background, we haven't raised fees since 2016. However, since that time, costs have continued to increase. Our operations and maintenance costs have gone up, just like with inflation, and just like everybody else's costs have gone up. And so now it's really time. In addition to that, we have a very robust capital improvement program that's we're going to execute between 2025 and 2040. The value of the capital improvement program is $10.1 billion. The biggest project in that capital improvement program is the upgrade to the Sand Island wastewater treatment plant. It's estimated to be about a $1.8 billion project. That's the wastewater treatment plant that services this neighborhood board area, actually. So I mentioned the 1.8 billion for Sand Island, 10.1 billion overall. And so that's 10.1 billion is to upgrade, renovate, modernize all the treatment plants, pump stations, sewer lines around the whole island, prepare them for climate change, prepare the facilities to meet upcoming permit requirements that we know we're going to have. So big question is how much is the bill going to go up? I mentioned that we're proposing rate increases every year for 10 years starting next year. For the first 6 years of that rate increase package, we call it a package, this 10-year package. For the first 6 years of the rate increases, it's going to be 9% annually. For years 7, 8, 9, and 10, it's going to be 8, 7, 6, 5%. So you total that all up, and over the course of 10 years, again, starting next year through 2035, the increase is cumulatively 115%. So it's not a small amount. We absolutely recognize that, but we want you folks, we want the public to be aware that we've done everything we can to keep the rates as low as we can. We push off any project that's not absolutely necessary, that's not required by law. We defer it. We push it out into the future. And we're very, like I said in the beginning, we're very frugal. We're very conservative with how we use our resources. I mentioned we haven't raised rates since 2016 because of that very virtue of our department. We're very thrifty with how we spend our money, but as I mentioned, it is time. So what is that cumulative increase going to look like for the average bill? So the average single family home on Oahu right now uses about 9,000 gallons of water a month. The sewer bill is based on your water usage. So currently, The sewer bill is comprised of two charges. There's a fixed, what we call a base charge every single month. That fixed base charge stays the same no matter how much water you use. You always have to pay that. That fixed base charge currently is $77.55. There's a volumetric charge that for 9,000 gallons a month for the average single family home is about $33.34 right now. So the total bill currently for the average home is about $111 a month. 10 years from now, I mentioned it's a sizable increase. We recognize that. 10 years from now, effective July 1st, 2034, that bill for the average user will be $248. I mentioned at the beginning also that there's going to be, in addition to the increases, we're changing the rate structure a bit. I just talked about how there's two components to the bill. There's the fixed charge, and then there's what we call a volumetric charge, which is based on the amount of water you used. As part of this whole rate development package that we're undertaking right now, we've been working on this for about a year, by the way. We've convened a stakeholder advisory group to kind of help us develop this package, provide input onto the rate proposal. That group consists of 35 people from all across the community. There were 7 or 8 neighborhood boards represented on there, engineering community, people from the nonprofit sector, our regulators were on that community. The hospitality industry had representatives on the committee, so there was good representation. One of the things that this advisory committee told us to do was don't make the bill so heavily based on the fixed charge. I mentioned a little bit ago that it's currently about 70% fixed, 30% volumetric based on water. So fixed, there's relatively little someone can do to lower their bill based on water usage. So what we did as part of this proposal, which again is proposed to go into effect July 1st, 2025 next year, we changed that ratio of 70% fixed to 30% volumetric to 50-50. So now if folks are able to reduce the amount of water they use, they can effectively lower their overall monthly payment, lower their overall bill. So that was one important element that our stakeholder group told us to do. Another thing that they wanted us to do was another thing I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion was a customer assistance program. So for folks who, back in COVID, if you remember, the city had this rental and utility relief program. It was a program that provided folks who fell on hard times during COVID, provide them assistance with their rent and utility payments. So if you're at all familiar with that program, great. If not, it's not a big deal either. But our assistance program for the sewer fees is going to be based loosely off that. We're going to qualify people based on income annually, and if they qualify, they are going to get between a $20 to $30 credit on their monthly bill, and that'll help absorb some of the costs of these rate increases. Our department is going to annually dedicate $10 million to a fund that funds that customer assistance program. So those were two important changes in addition to the rate increases, but the change in structure to 50-50 and now this customer assistance program. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. I'm happy to provide further information if there's questions and also answer questions if there are. So thank you for your time.
Okay, I see everyone's chomping at the bit to talk here. So we'll start with Richard and then Chuck and Harris. And did I see Eric also? Okay. So Richard.
Are condos eligible for this assistance? I live in a condominium. I'm on the board there. The sewer fee is impressive and now it's going to be going up. Are condo owners eligible for that assistance?
It's a great question. Initially, we're trying to figure out how that's going to work. I live in a condo myself, and we don't get individual water bills, right? It's paid for by the association or the management company. And so, and then it's rolled into our fee, our maintenance fees, right? So we recognize the need. We don't know how we're going to implement it quite yet, quite honestly, but we know it's there. We know we need to address it.
Okay, next, Chuck.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to commend you and your group for putting the study together. It sounds like a very good plan.
Thank you.
Until we got to pay for it. How did has that study been compared to any other cities in the United States comparable to our size and environment?
Excellent question. And thanks for asking that. It gives me the opportunity to talk about it. So the short answer is yes. So there are indexes out there that compare cities, municipalities across the country to each other. What they do, and there's a couple of indexes, but a popular one is, okay, what is the proportion of your water and wastewater bill to your income? And generally speaking, if you are under 3% of your income, it's considered affordable. I know that some people disagree with that metric. It's a national metric and it's what's used used nationwide. But currently, Honolulu, we are under that. We're actually under 2%. But it will go up. But that number is also it's a bit of a moving target. So 2 to 3% of incomes tend to go up every year too. And so, while I mentioned we're just under 2%, we're gonna go up, but so will incomes. And can I say that we'll always be under that 3% over the next 10 years? I'm not sure. It might come pretty close, but yeah, it's an excellent question, and we're sensitive to that. With respect to the second question, it wasn't a second question, but something I'll also touch on is this customer assistance program. Kind of a somewhat common thing among utilities like ours, wastewater utilities. And wastewater utilities do tend to dedicate about 2 to 3% of their annual revenues to such programs. And that's that $10 million that represents that 2 to 3% of our annual revenue. So we're right on track with that.
Okay, Harris.
Yeah, when I saw the article in the newspaper, it just hit me, and I can imagine how many people this thing is just probably they've kind of had enough of a lot of this kind of increase, especially when you're looking at over time, like 115%. But at the same time, I see a lot of ideas in terms of how to help the residents. So on one hand, you're looking at, if you're not using too much water, then based on the percentage of the fixed versus the usage, then it kind of tells you like you should be okay. But where is that shortfall going to be made to make up the amount of money that you need to do it if people are going to be incentivized to keep their water use down? Then what if everybody decides to be really conscious about water use and it just goes down? Then where are you going to make up the difference?
Quite honestly, if there was wide embrace of that and people significantly reduce their rates, we would be in a pinch. We don't. So the direct answer to your question is the additional cost is going to be borne by the high water users. We have done studies. We have consultants who have looked into this for us that for incentive programs like this, where if you reduce the amount of water you use, you can actually lower your bill. It has the effect that we desire, which is for the single family homeowners, the people who are struggling to make ends meet. They recognize the opportunity to save, and they can save. Like one figure that was talked about today, if you save the average family, again, average single family home, 9,000 gallons a month. If you save 1,000 gallons a month in water right now, you reduce your bill by about $4.60 a month. 10 years from now, at the end of all of these increases, that 1,000 gallons turns into about $21. And so people can save. the high volume user, what we've seen across the country is that the high volume users, the resorts, the hotels, and just people who use a lot of customers who use a lot of water, it doesn't really affect their consumption habits. And so the help for the folks on the lower end will predominantly be borne by the folks on the higher end who are using the higher volume.
See, one of the greatest water use that I imagine would be large families, large working families that have to wash clothes. I think that they're gonna get hit. And then if we're looking at are we also looking at preparing for capacity for the future, or is it just based on the given? Because let's say all the condominiums, all the brand new condominiums that are going up in Kaka'ako, that may be half empty, so they're not using water, but then we have to kind of make believe as if they're all full.
Yep.
So shouldn't the empty condo somehow, who is really probably not Hawaii residents, bear some of that, that cost? Because whoever developed that building now created this expectation of capacity requirements of water, and then sewage, and then the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So, I'm just looking at the local people here that are working, and then that effect, it kind of just is mind-boggling to me. And it's definitely something that really needs more discussion, more study, because I just can see the pain in the residents, the local residents that live here. And even the resident in this area, it's all local condominium, it's all full. It's local people.
Yeah.
But in other areas, I think we have to look at it. So
yeah, and so there's a lot of great points you raised, and I'll touch on a couple of them, and if I forget some, please let me know. But the money in the capital project, our construction budget, is essentially none of it is for increasing capacities. There's some money in there for upsizing sewer pipes in certain areas, but it's a relatively small amount. The capacity at all of the treatment plants, including Sand Island that services this area, is well within the amount of stuff, wastewater going to it. Condos and vacant properties, basically. So all of those condo buildings, it's a really important point because somebody brought it up and I want to make it clear. When a single family home connects to our system, they have to pay what's called a facility charge. It's a fancy term for a connection fee. It's a one-time connection fee. That connection fee is, I forget the exact figure, it's like $4,600 and change. You take that for these 400 unit buildings that are coming up in Kaka'ako and elsewhere, that $4,600, including the super nice ones, that $4,600, you basically multiply that by the number of units that are in that building. And that's the contribution that that building makes to the system. And when I say the system, that's our department and that's the taxpayers, right? And so if a building is 50% vacant because they have, people that own here, but they don't live there, live in the unit, they are still paying. If they have to pay their sewer bill every month. And if there's no water usage at that unit, which I get sometimes there is because people just aren't living there for days on end, at minimum, they pay the base charge. That is something that as I mentioned, that they pay every month and it doesn't change no matter what the water usage is. So they're even if they're not here, they made a significant financial contribution to the system when the unit was built, and every month they're paying whether they use it or not. Good question.
Okay, Eric.
My question has to do with any support or incentives from this funding for homes that are on cesspool being converted to septic systems. What is the state going to be doing for those homes, getting them up to speed with the upcoming the program, right? Getting the cesspools, converted.
Yeah, that's another great question. Great topic. A little bit separate from from what's included in this proposal. The cesspool, you might have been referring to the statewide mandate to eliminate cesspools by 2050, I think it is. So it's a statewide mandate with city and county, but we are working with the state on proposals and programs to tackle that. Fortunately, on Oahu, I mean, it's a problem everywhere, but fortunately on Oahu, it's about 85-ish thousand cesspools statewide. We only have about 8,000 here. The vast majority are on the Big Island, where it's very difficult to install sewer systems to the whole island. And as part of our, this is related, but as part of that $10.1 billion construction program I mentioned through 2040, there's tens of millions of dollars in there to bring sewer systems to communities that are currently on cesspools that need to come off. And when we bring sewer systems into the communities, that'll eliminate that. There's, for one example that's right on the tip of my mind, there's a community of about, I mentioned we have 8,000 cesspools island-wide. There's a community of about 950 and change homes in Eva Beach, way at the end of Fort Weaver, down by the ocean. That we're going to be, it's a $50 million sewer project down there. It's included in that 10.1 billion. And that'll essentially take all of those. Those are high risk because the cesspools they're right by the beach, so their potential to seep into the ocean is high. That'll take that 950 plus homes off cesspools and into the sewer system. So we're in the design phases of that project right now. And there's others as well.
Okay, and seeing no more questions from the board, any questions from the attendees? Okay, L and E, if you could go ahead and state your name, please, and then go ahead.
Hi, my name is Laura. I have a question about whether anything in this bill has to do with the golf courses getting subsidized water for their like R1 recycled water.
It's not in the bill, Laura, and I'm sorry. I have no doubt that that's happening. I'm not very familiar with that program.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Can I also just mention too, Chair, real
Yeah.
quick? I'm kind of, as I'm talking, I'm referencing this flyer here, which I gave to all the board members, and I left a stack at the table up front here. So everyone from the community, please feel free. This flyer is also available on our website, which is honolulu.gov/ENV for environmental services. Thank you again.
Yep. Thank you so much. Okay, and moving on to resolution urging legislature to adopt good government reforms. I believe we have someone here to speak about that.
Aloha, Chair. Yes, my name is Maria Ralyahai, and I am a part of a coalition of organizations dedicated to good governance. So I'm just here to kind of talk about the resolution and answer any questions that anyone may have. So to talk about the resolution is fundamentally about rebuilding trust and making sure that everyone has a voice, and a voice that is genuinely heard in the legislative decisions that really impact all of us. So with this upcoming legislative session, we do have a great opportunity right now to really set the tone for how we want our state legislature to operate. So in the resolution, we ask all of you to pass this, and it basically urges the legislature to pass 6 reasonable amendments to the House and Senate rules before the 2025 legislative session. And these 6 reasonable amendments were taken from the report by the Commission to Improve Standards of Conduct. So if you'd like, I can kind of list out the 6 rules, but overall, though, our goal with implementing these rule changes is to make the legislative process more open and allowing more of us, our community members, to see how decisions are made, who is influencing them, and really just to have our neighbors, all of us, to be an active part in these decisions. So thank you for letting us speak to you folks. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have about the resolutions or the rules themselves.
Okay. Richard?
Chair, can we ask Maria to read those 6 items? Do we have time for that?
Yep, we got time.
Yeah,
Maria, thank you.
yeah, of course. Let me just pull up the resolution. I think it's different for this board, but essentially the first of the 6 resolution is asking the committees to make all of the testimonies that it receives immediately available for public review. So this is at least 22 hours before the hearing and at least 2 hours before hearing for late testimonies, meaning testimonies that arrived later. And this really allows the public and also our committee members, our legislators, to better understand the issues at hand before decisions are made. The second one is about voting on all of the bills that's referred to the committee and not using deferrals as a means of hiding committee members' positions on bills. The third one is we are asking that bills that do not create or expend funds, so typically non-fiscal bills, shouldn't be referred to the finance committee. So that's the House Committee on Finance and Senate Committee on Ways and Means. And this practice often causes unnecessarily delays and allows a few individuals to hold power over them. And that's kind of a rationale for that. The fourth one is that all bills that are circulated for co-sponsorship, so legislators signing the bills, so any House bills with at least, I believe for this resolution, 17 co-introducers, and bills that have 9 co-introducers in the Senate should be scheduled for at least 1 hearing. The fifth one is any amendments to bills must be shared with all committee members before they can take a vote. And really, this is just to have the public and the legislators be informed and can make well-informed decisions. And then lastly, if a bill is introduced on behalf of an outside entity, so that's like an individual or an organization, that entity must be disclosed to provide transparency to the public and really accountability for the legislator. So those are the 6 rule changes that we would like and are part of the resolution.
I apologize. Do we have a motion to adopt the resolution? Well, in parliamentary procedure, we need to have the motion first, and then we can discuss, right? So,
I'll make a motion
I
to adopt
move.
it.
okay.
I'll
So I
second.
believe that was Richard and Richard moved and Samuel
Mitchell.
seconded. Okay. All right. Discussion. John.
So we're going to tell the legislature how they should run the legislature? I don't think so.
Okay. Richard.
I'm reluctant to vote on this tonight. I mean, as she was reading these 6 things off, I don't really understand the how and why of these. Some of these I found a little hard to understand. But I do believe in the principle of getting them, all these the things that we've read, understand over the year, like you keep the name of the bill the same, but it's totally been gutted. What is that? Gut and replace? Yeah, those
Yeah.
kinds of practices. And then they did stop that? Yeah, okay, good. And then, like even for us, sometimes a resolution is laid in front of us, and then we're asked to vote on it that evening. So, yeah, that's my comments.
Okay. Next, Corinne.
Yeah, I'm having a problem with my camera. Weirdly, it's not showing me, but it's showing my background. I apologize, but my question is, well, first I just wanted to point out, I think there's a typo. One of the bottom whereas clauses, like one of the whereas clauses, I think it's like third from the bottom. It says board support, but I'm assuming you meant broad support. So I would just make a motion that, assuming that's what you meant, that we correct it to broad support. And then I guess I had one question about the procedure to release testimony in advance. And I guess my question is, a lot of times it's like there's not a lot of notice to even submit testimony. I think they announce the hearing in as little as 48 hours prior, which isn't a lot of time to even compose testimony. And then if you had to release the testimony even sooner, I feel like that would really impinge on people's ability to give testimony. If you have to complete that testimony and then they compile it and release it to the public. So I don't know if, I just wondered if you had any comment on that. And but otherwise I'm supportive.
Okay, Maria, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I can answer that. So just to kind of clarify your question, you're asking like what the feasibility is for uploading a testimony right
Well,
away?
what I'm saying is we don't have enough time already to testify. And if you're requiring them to release the testimony to the public at an earlier point, that would mean that would create even less time for us to submit our testimony.
Yeah, so what the first rule change, so basically what we're asking is that all testimonies that's submitted should be publicly available at least 22 hours. So you're right in that there's 48 hours notice to submit testimony. But there is already systems in place where, for example, Honolulu County Council operates, where once you submit testimony, it's already available for the public right when you submit the button. So it's not necessarily, you know, reducing the hours that people submit testimony. It's just we want the testimonies that people have already submitted within those, you know, when the first hearing notice comes out. We just want them to be publicly accessible so that when we are, you know, writing testimonies, we know in advance and understand what the issues are being discussed and really preparing our own input. So it's more so making sure that we're more informed about what the discussions are and how we can really address, you know, maybe if you are supporting a bill and someone opposes it and they submit testimony maybe 20 hours prior to or 20 hours after the hearing notice is scheduled. And so you can see that after the 22-hour mark starts, and then you're able to kind of understand what why they oppose that certain bill that you're supporting. And then so you can prepare your own input and really address what the issues are. So I know I went off of a tangent, but it's just saying that for this rule, we just want to be able to kind of allow the public to understand the issues that's being discussed and really informally or be well informed in their inputs. I hope that answers your
Yes,
question.
it does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Ian Ross.
Thank you very much. First, I want to credit Maria and the many individuals who've been working on this important resolution. I believe it was last year or 2 years ago, we were talking about, was last year, about good governance and our concerns related to ethics. You know, we had brought this up with Representative Della Al-Baladi. Then we had talked about supporting a number of measures, and we didn't directly follow up, but the legislature took on most of them. And I think what we're seeing in this resolution is really addressing several more of the ones that were proposed for amendments. We can see the legislature make it more democratic, more accessible, and asking for those. I do differ very slightly on a few things, and I want to credit specifically the Manoa Neighborhood Board and their chair, Dave Nagaji, is here this evening, which I think did a lot of research in adding some more whereas clauses to explain why some of these changes are prudent. And additionally, it makes a few very small changes on which of the whereas clauses are included. Specifically, it changes the one related to having every committee member having to vote on every single bill, but instead of authorizes a majority of committee members to override their chair to allow a vote. And this means that individual members who differ with their chairs, they have the democratic power to push forward things, but it takes off some of the burden. It keeps things like we're hearing about the 22 hours ahead of time and being able to share sharing testimony, but it does not include amendments to bills must be in possession of committee legislators at the time of the hearing. You know, I'm very much against cut and replace. I think court rulings have really limited the abuses of the legislature in this. We can always make that better. But having been, you know, working at the legislature, I can tell you sometimes there's really good testimony and you want to be able to adopt language before a deadline based on what you're hearing from the community, what you're hearing from departments. So I think Manoa wisely removed that section while keeping the very strong language in line with it. So I went ahead and shared their resolution, and I made a little document which gives a side-by-side view so people can see the difference. I've included all in the chat. And if the board is willing to entertain it, I'd actually like to motion to amend to adopt the language of the Manoa Neighborhood Board, our neighbors, and specifically you know, changing out mentions of their board with the names of our board and making any sort of other conforming or typo changes, as Corinne had mentioned, at the purview of the chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, so it sounded like you made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Richard seconds. Discussion for basically adopt or changing the language with conforming corrections.
Chair, may I recommend we hear from Dave Nagaji? His hand was up previously as chair of the board.
Yep. Dave, go ahead.
Thank you, Ian. I was going to speak on the on passing the resolution more generally, not only on the amendment, but since the possibly amending it to be more like the Manoa version is currently on the table. I'll just say very briefly, speaking in my individual capacity as someone who is on the neighboring Manoa Neighborhood Board, but who is appearing individually without representing any other organization or office. I, of course, prefer the Manoa version. It was the version we passed, but I think both versions are good. And I think that the members of the Makiki Neighborhood Board should be comfortable passing whichever version they prefer. Thanks.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, are there any objections or abstention? Huh? Oh, Richard. Yeah. Okay. Are there any objections to the amendment? Seeing none, the resolution is we're now back to the resolution, but as amended. Is there any further discussion on the amended resolution? Yeah, as the conforming correction. Yeah. Okay. Is there any discuss? Oh, Richard.
Yeah, can we ask Senator Fukunaga to just give us a 25 words? What is your position on all this?
Well, no, I think generally we would want to encourage, you know, a lot more opportunity for people to get access to information sooner rather than later. And as someone who has experienced what it's like on the council, where you have 7-day, kind of advance notice on the hearing agendas, I think it does make sense to have a lot of the testimony available so the public can review in advance. And I would say in the past, we also did have opportunities to provide committee members with copies of amendments prior to their votes on the bills. I've been away from the legislature for a while, though, so I can't comment on what their current practice is. I think in some instances, that's not happening today. But generally, I'm in favor of more public access and providing as much information as possible.
Okay, thank you very much, Carol. Do we have any more comments from folks online? Okay, I see. Rep Dello Bellotti.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to comment on this, and I wanted to thank Maria for bringing this forward. There's been a lot of conversation about reforms over the last 2 years, and I'd like to share that in the House, in particular, given the new influx of representatives coming in, and also with the interest of really making sure that we restore trust in government, that this effort is being taken seriously. I appreciate, again, Maria, for bringing this forward. It's a dense topic because it's very difficult to understand legislative rules and how they play out. But I would say that as a chair, for a very really dense committee, some of these changes that are being asked for, I think, are things that we can advance, and it does pursue some of the principles that were enunciated in the Foley Commission, following the terrible acts of legislators who were not really honoring the public trust. So I think as this goes along, I'm looking forward to what comes from the neighborhood boards. Again, the process, just to share with you a little bit, internally, is that there is a process where we are examining the rules now, and that is the Kuleana, the responsibility of legislators. We will adopt a new set of rules at the beginning of the legislative session. So now is precisely the time to weigh in for the community. And I welcome any ideas. Some of them, as board member Corinne Carson put out there, when you change certain notice requirements or posting requirements, then that will have an effect on other things. But those are things we certainly should consider. So if the public is interested in these kinds of reforms, I welcome the input that comes from organizations like the Neighborhood Board. And I really thank folks for taking a look at this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Della. Okay, and do we have Richard?
Rep Bellotti? Can you
Yes.
give us, I'm looking at number 3. Bills that do not create or expend funds shall not be referred to finance committees. What's that all about? I mean, do they refer to these finance committees to purposely kill them, or why do we even need this?
So there is one
Finance Committee.
there's one thing, a thought out there that so a finance committee referral in the House means that there's some kind of fiscal impact for a bill. But we know, and legislatively we know, that some bills don't necessarily need to have that kind of fiscal referral. So there's always a tension when those referrals occur, and there's other places in the rules where members can challenge that as an unnecessary referral. But if you want to start from the point of view that the rule should explicitly say that there shouldn't be a fiscal referral, that is some people would say that is a positive way to make sure that there's not the practice of over referring bills. I don't know if that helps, Richard, but I think referrals can be a tricky matter. And so I have been on many bills where I have not understood there has been a fiscal referral. We still are able to navigate some of those bills through the process, but it just gets really tricky. And then 2 years ago, when we had that debacle of the cattle call, there were many, many good bills that did not that were ready to go and really did not need um, a fiscal vote on it. And so there were some folks who were very upset in the community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I see we're burning through time here. So we'll have one final remark from Maria and then go ahead and
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I
thank you.
just wanted to add to what Rep. Bellotti said. She eloquently explained it, but I wanted to provide kind of an example because I think for this one specifically, it's towards the House, since bill referrals are assigned by House leadership. And so there is one, I like to give this one specific example, which was HB 207. And basically, this bill requires employers with 5 or more employees to provide rest breaks to employees working shifts for more than 6 hours. And basically, this was referred to the Labor Committee, but also the Finance Committee. And we don't believe that it should have been referred to the Finance Committee. And unfortunately, this bill died in the Finance Committee. And, you know, I understand why they would refer this bill to the Finance Committee, but if you look at the provisions or the scope of the Finance Committee, this bill specifically doesn't create any new state programs or require direct funding from the state government. And it doesn't really present any immediate budgetary concerns that would warrant the Finance Committee's oversight. So, you know, for bills like these, really good bills for workers' rights and for many others, it doesn't need to be referred to the Finance Committee. And so for us, the reason why we wanted to include this specifically is because we really wanted to just, you know, we didn't want to have any unnecessary I guess hurdles for really good policy bills. And you know, when it does get referred to the Finance Committee, even though it doesn't have any fiscal implications, we just don't really know where the bill goes, or it just goes ignored, unnoticed, it dies. And we just want to stop that. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, John, I'm gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So sorry. Yeah, because we are spending an inordinate amount of time on this. Are there any? I'm gonna go ahead and call the vote. Are there any objections to adopting this resolution? Oh, you recommend? Okay, I apologize. I've been told to use roll call. Okay, go ahead.
Parson.
Aye.
Aye. This is the good government resolution amended to reflect what Manoa adopted. Char.
Aye.
Aye. Granger. Absent. Kawano. Aye.
Flink.
Absent. Laka Laka Manupuna.
Aye.
Aye. Lee.
Aye.
Aye. Mitchell.
Aye.
Aye. Nakamoto. Aye. Peck.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, Granger.
Yeah, aye.
Granger was aye. Okay.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Aye. Salasa. Aye. Santos. Absent. Steelquist.
Abstain.
Abstain. On a vote of 11 ayes, no nos, and 1 abstention, the resolution has been adopted.
Okay. And then I will, when that get with the amendment, and then I'll wind up signing it, and we'll go ahead and send that out. Thank you very much, Maria, and Dave for commenting, and everyone else who chipped in. Okay, moving on to the resolution for the testing and cleanup of Makiki Stream. Do we have a motion to adopt this? Ian.
Yes, I'm going to motion to adopt, but I do suspect for time schedule, maybe we'll have discussion, and I'm not actually expecting we're going to get through to an actual vote tonight. But I motion to adopt.
Okay, and do we have a second? Okay, second by John Steelquist. Discussion as the one putting forth this resolution. Go ahead and speak, Ian.
Sure thing. Apologies if you can pick up the sirens in the background as I'm bringing this up. You know, for quite some time, our board has received concerns related to homelessness encampments in the Makiki stream, especially on Liho Liho. And this is a shared concern all the way down for Makiki, Makai of us along Kalakaua Avenue. It's quite a bit worse. And, I've been speaking with a number of neighbors related to this issue for some time, and we've tried to isolate several potential actions we can take, which are detailed in the resolution. And I'll list those in a little bit. But I just want to recognize a few community members who've been involved in these discussions. JC Mikulanek of Makiki, Betsy Kawamura of Macaulay. She's the one who really has been championing this the most. Barbara Young of Macaulay. But I also want to recognize former chair of the Macaulay Moiliili Neighborhood Board, Paul Rabati, and now Representative Kaiko Olds. We've been having discussions related to what can be done here. And I suspect we're not going to be able to get necessarily to a vote today. But we highlight specifically environmental concerns and disruption to the community. But there were a number of other concerns. Betsy Kawamura helped organize by harassing the mayor and many city officials to getting, I believe, 9 full garbage trucks full of worth of garbage removed from the stream on Kalakaua Avenue. And there had to be a deployment of a bomb squad in response to a potential unexploited ordinance. We've really been neglecting enforcement here. And the harms in terms of environmental harms are quite large, but we've also been hearing stories about bodies found in some of the streams and potentially due to overdose. There's concerns when there's flooding of having to rescue people out of these areas. These are not safe locations. Garbage being washed down to the beach, increased potential bacteria populations. And I think really one of the other problems is it allows us to more easily neglect and ignore those who are experiencing homelessness and sort of put it out of sight for a time. Where we really need to be directing more resources there. So the things the resolution calls for is installing and enforcing no trespassing signage. As I had asked the officer earlier, does this make it easier to enforce? And we heard yes. Provide more frequent cleanup. We shouldn't be waiting till it's 9 garbage trucks worth. Engage in testing to see if there's bacterial or other environmental testing that can occur. Increase monitoring in a timely manner in response to illegal encampments, and increased outreach. I mean, this isn't just about increasing enforcement to these populations, but increasing outreach to make sure they have the resources they need. So that's what I lay out. I'm really open to the thoughts of this board. I've been reaching out to community members to try to find the right way forward. I'm not fully convinced we hit the nail on the head with this one, but I think it's really critical we listen to the concerns of our neighbors in our community and adjacent community and really be championing action for these things. I think that's the only way we're going to see improvements. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak, Chair.
Okay, do we have any further discussion? Richard.
I just do encourage the board to pass this. I have a friend that lives in that area and he says it's disgusting. He's been observing it over the years.
Okay, and I guess, we heard from the police major as well earlier today that one of our measures that we're asking for in this is very timely. So seeing no further discussion, go ahead and bring this to a vote.
Okay, voting on the Makiki stream resolution. Carson.
Aye.
Aye. Char. Aye. Granger.
Aye.
Aye. Kawano. Aye. Clink. Absent. Lakalaka Manupuna.
Aye.
Aye. Lee. Aye. Mitchell.
Aye.
Aye. Nakamoto. Aye. Pet. Absent.
Aye.
Or aye. Ross.
Aye.
Aye. Salasa. Aye. Santos absent. Stillquist. Aye. On a vote of 12 ayes, no noes. Adopted.
Mahalo, Chair and members.
Okay, yep. Thank you very much, Ian. So yeah, there are no amendments, so I'll go ahead and sign that and we can send that out. Next up, nice neighborhood, Harris. And I believe we have several things coming up. So starting with the fire hydrant, but I believe I've been informed that we can't let people know where the fire hydrant, or they won't tell us where the fire hydrants are because of safety concerns and security concerns. But if we have any concerns about any specific fire hydrant, we can definitely get in contact with them about that. So I just wanted to put that in, and Harris, go for it.
Thank you. Yes, on the fire hydrant inventory, that was actually brought up to the Nice Neighborhood Committee through Tom Heinrich, and we had a discussion, and it was explained very well from the Board of Water Supply and HFD in terms of between them, they have understanding and awareness of the location. So that was, and also the planning and so forth. So I think we will take that off and we'll not have to have any discussion because of exactly what you mentioned previously. The discussion on the Punchbowl perimeter project, there's been ongoing. We started out with 666 Prospect Street. There was concern about illegal dumping, and that was brought about by board member Claire Santos. So we followed up. We went there. We noticed the illegal dumping there. We also noticed in terms of homeless encampments, and then also the fire hazards. So it was brought to the Nice Neighborhood Committee. We actually visited the location, saw it, but then we also continue to discuss it with the feds as well as DHHL and DLNR. And so as we discussed about it, we found out more that this is something that wasn't just a nice neighborhood type of project. It needed to be brought to the board in terms of creating a Punchbowl perimeter project. As Major Okamoto mentioned, some of the things that have been done and is ongoing. So it's a larger project than that specific area. And to a point where the other side of the perimeter falls into another neighborhood board, which is the Nuano Neighborhood Board. And just so happened that I'll be actually talking with one of them and kind of communicating to see if we could also wrap them into the discussion. And so it becomes a discussion that there are many moving factors, and hopefully we can continue to now transfer it from the Nice Neighborhood Committee to the regular board meeting, and then have the various parties. And I thank also Darryl Mao, who was involved, because it is with a lot more attention in terms of fire hazards and so forth. There's with that, with the neighborhood that surrounds and the vicinity of the condos as well as residents, there's probably some opportunity to address that also. So anyway, so we're just gonna start, if we can, transfer this discussion item to, I guess, our January meeting, and it will continue to go beyond that. The next item is on the Resilience Hub, and that's something that was started actually in my sub-district in partnership. So on Kinao Street, the resident condominiums, the Coronet, Kinao Villas, and we started to add others. But it's a partnership that we developed with the Honolulu Museum of Art, and it was to designate the museum as a resilience hub. And part of it was we got to that idea through, and we have Dr. Miku Lenentine, who can kind of just give a quick overview of the resilience projects that is more statewide, but also how we fit in, but also to the fact that I want to transfer this discussion to the board as a regular agenda item, because with the large amount of condominiums that we have in the Makiki, Tantalus area, the the idea of the resilience hub was primarily for a lot of the vertical residents in the event of a fire or say first shooter where the residents have to evacuate. Then a lot of times they do have a fire evacuation plan, and so they do evacuate. But say they evacuate at 9 p.m. at night, and either they have to displace residents and seniors, then they might have a location where they have to go, but then they won't know for many hours whether when they can get back in or whatever. And if they don't have any family, then what happens? So these are kind of the plans that we have that is an extension and a partnership with both HFD and HPD of a designated area that the condo management team and their board will be able to create this resilience hub plan that hopefully we will never use, but at least we'll be prepared. So I'll stop there. But before I'd like to introduce Dr. Miku Lenatine to a real quick, she provided a one-pager for the board members to read, but it primarily to help us kick off and start to have that discussion for our neighborhood board is to develop resilience hubs and have different neighborhood areas as well as condo associations to work on their designation of a resilience hub. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Okay, thank you so much again, Harris, for inviting me here to present, and good to see everybody again. So I've presented a couple times now to this board and to our community here about community resilience hubs in general. So I've been active in this project. I was just looking at the timeline. So 2023 is when we really started getting engaged with resilience hubs. And the idea, it was launched through City and County of Honolulu to just take a look and see what the interest is, and especially working with community members, where do they see hubs as being trusted gathering places? And the way that we're defining hubs is hubs are places that people trust, that they know, that provide services and support for the community all year round. So when I'm talking hubs, it's not an emergency, pop-up shelter. It's actually serving the community all year round. And then when a disaster happens, they pivot because they've been trained. Everybody has a plan, they know what to do. And then maybe they have their Starlink communication system set up and backup energy systems. They've got arrangements with food providers to bring in different supplies. So that's what the hub is. That's the definition that we've been using. And so what we're doing right now in Oahu is working on setting up a network of hubs. So we have a couple, not just a couple, quite a few groups across the island that are engaged, just like Harris, in partnership with Nice Neighborhoods and Honolulu Museum of Art. And our goal is to connect them so they can support each other. And part of the development since last time I was here with you all is we've formally launched now our Hub Learning Community. So the Hub Learning Community, we're convening monthly with subject matter experts to support the different hubs across Oahu as they're getting ready to strengthen what they have. And some of them are just groups that are saying, yes, we want to be hubs, but we don't know how. So that's the Hub Learning Community. Another development is we are formally partnering with Vibrant Hawaii, which has already successfully set up a network of 40 hubs on Hawaii Island. And so they've actually been working in the Kolau region, and there's going to be a symposium December 10th, which is available for leaders to attend. And we're hoping that we'll also have our very first Resilience Hub Summit, bringing together all the different groups here on Oahu in May 2025. So those are the main updates. We're really excited about the vision that Harris has with his group, and also equally excited to see how it can work with a neighborhood board, because there's been interest in other parts of the island as well, to see how do the hubs, how do we make this maybe something that's a standing item or a way to communicate with the boards.
Okay, John?
You're going to have a hub. Now, I can see in the case of a condominium, in some places people gather during a fire. Now, we have a tidal wave or a hurricane. That can't be a hub for everybody. How are we going to have different types of hubs and so on?
Great question. Is the hub, an individual building, like a residential apartment, something like that? Not necessarily, though I like that idea. That would be wonderful, right? If every apartment building had their own plan, right? And had everything prepared. But that's exactly the idea, is they can't be a hub for everybody. So that's why we need larger facilities, and many of them actually, so that each neighborhood, that would be my personal vision, the learning community will tell me what they want, that every neighborhood would have that hub so that the residents can have a place to go. So the question was, how do you decide which hub to go to? I don't think we're there yet. Yeah, so we're looking at churches, veteran centers, community centers, museums, right? Places like that. Most likely it's going to be proximity, right? Most likely it's going to be something that you could walk to if a disaster happened. That's my thought.
Harris?
Yeah, so, as Dr. Lenentine has mentioned, so like say in our area, it's a resilience hub, and there's probably a time frame, maybe up to 4 hours in terms of that type of stay. And then so we receive donations that we're going to be putting in a designated area at the museum. So we have like bed cots for people or seniors who have to maybe lie down. We have chairs. We also have bath blankets, and then food. We partner with, in our area, we're very fortunate with Chick-fil-A, with McDonald's, with Domino's, that the food they can, as we need to turn on and turn the resilience hub on, then they'll be there. Plus we have donations of like phone chargers and so forth that we have. But the idea is that as we look at inventorying these items that we bring about for the resilience hub, if say in our neighborhood board, we have like say we grow to 5 or 6 more resilience hubs in our area, then all of these items, we can standardize the items that we have, and then we could probably purchase at a larger quantity and kind of benefit from that scale. So that's also the benefit of sharing, and also kind of becoming united in terms of this effort. And then the other thing too is that from a resilience hub, you have to look at a community hub. And the community hub, you use, in this case, the Museum of Art as a community hub to bring the community together in a non-emergent time to communicate and educate them about what we have in the plan in place, as well as bring the community together to address issues that may be tied to, safety, security, and so forth. And then that kind of enriches the community, and then also bring together with HFD, HPD, and so forth, then and our elected officials, so that we can all come to a common ground in terms of helping each other.
I think he knocked it out of the park.
Richard?
Could these hubs be used to house the homeless population?
That's a great question. I think the idea is the hubs are meant to serve the community year round, so that addressing all different kind of stressors. So not just these short-term acute shocks that we have, just fire, flood, or whatnot, but trying to address things like that, houseless, homeless community, at-risk youth. And the idea is that part of what you can do is to strengthen your hub, is strengthen programming for those things. Hopefully, and depending on how this, we have multiple hubs, maybe there'll be additional funding support available for those types of things, especially as they're serving all year round and in the emergency time. So hopefully, yes, yeah. Oh, and I just want to add, especially in the urban area here, we're not necessarily talking about new buildings, right? We're actually usually talking about existing buildings that we want to retrofit, strengthen, and then make sure that everyone's trained, that there's a plan in place, and then we can bring in all the supplies as needed if there's an emergency.
Okay. Unfortunately, in the interest of time, I'm gonna have to cut it a little short. For sure, we'll put this on the future agendas. So, thank you so much.
Great,
and I guess we'll take a final word from Harris.
So our next neighborhood, a nice neighborhood committee meeting, the agenda is on for Monday, November 25th at 2 p.m. So there's 2 items that will be followed up on, is the Makiki laundromat concern that was brought up by Chair Char. And I know that from Councilmember DeSantos Tam's office, Lynn Robinson, is working on that. And then also the 1011 Palm Drive, and I know Nancy's here tonight, so we're gonna have further discussion on that too. So those are the key items as well as other items that may be brought, but we're moving along. So thank you everybody for your help.
Can I just say, add, if anyone's interested in learning more about the Hub Learning community, you can contact me at my name, MIKU4, Miku4 at hawaii.edu. And there's also a sign up sheet in the front for those who are here. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the discussion and motion to support speed bumps on Akala Lane and Palm Drive. I think, Harris, would you like to start us off? Or do we have, oh my goodness, I forgot her name. Might she be here to, okay, would you like to step up and speak a little bit to this? Yeah, thank you so much.
Hello, good evening. My name is Nancy Depikotswane, and I am located at 1011 Palm Drive. And the concern was with racing on those side streets and on South King Street. It was brought to HPD's attention, and they were going to watch the area. I have noted, I'm sorry, I've been pretty sick for the past month, so I wasn't able to get the documentation or the times and all that. But I did note some times and dates, and it did happen since we've spoken last. In the past month, it's happened quite frequently. 1:11 in the morning, all hours. So it's still happening, not as much. And Harris came out and we observed the tire marks, the spin, what do you call the spin out, burnout marks on the road. And they go down the small lanes. They go down, and there's a school there. There's other homes, apartment buildings, businesses. The fire department union building is there. So they'll speed around, and sometimes they'll just go around and around and around and then go down King Street. And sometimes they'll go backwards. They'll go the wrong way down those roads on purpose. Some of them do it on purpose, and some of them do it because the signage is not clear. When I left this evening, a woman went the wrong way down the Akala, Palm Drive. So that's also a problem. But as far as the racing, it's a regular issue. And I think if we put the speed bumps in there, that would help a lot.
Okay, do we have any further discussion? Okay, so someone has to make a motion. Okay, Harris, and seconded by Chuck. Okay, yeah. So discussion, I guess we already kind of jumped the gun on that. Does anyone else have anything they would like to add? Ian.
Thank you very much. Real quick for the woman who was speaking to us just now, to clarify, is noise or is it like present physical danger the primary motivator here?
I'll give Chancellor Swan.
It would be a combination. There's the racing noise, the gunning of the revving of the engines. They'll burn their tire. I don't know the term for it, but they burn their tires, and the rubber smoke actually comes inside my house. So you'll get these big puffs of smoke in the neighborhood. And I've got the house on the other side of me has small children. There's, yes, the noise. 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes they'll stay out until 3 o'clock in the morning after the bar is closed, and they'll just hang out there. I'm referring to Tipsy Pig 2 Bar. They're part of a car club, and so I think that's another reason why these racers kind of congregate in that area. And so you've got the smoke, you've got them driving in the wrong direction, you've got the noise, and you've just got the safety issues. I have witnessed bicyclists almost get hit on the corner of Akala Lane and South King Street when cars just whip through that corner. And I myself have almost been hit walking on the sidewalk, and they'll just whip around that corner. And I mentioned them driving down the wrong way. Don't know what else. I mean, it's a lot of safety issues.
Okay, Richard.
Lieutenant, can you give us some comments on this? You're aware of the situation. Has there been much enforcement in that area?
Yes, we're aware. We get complaints all over the place about all different types of things. We're pretty much on top of everything going on, and we're working on it. We have gotten feedback on that. She's called 911 a few times, or other people in the neighborhood calls. We've gotten sent for those type of complaints and made checks on it. I've been in this district for almost 12 years. Variety of different establishments have come and gone through there. We've had complaints on all the major roads at various times about speeding, racing. They're universal complaints. I mean, since there's been a road and since there's been a car, there's been a complaint about the car on the road. But we're aware of it. We do check those areas. It's a major thoroughfare for us. We're up and down the road in that area all night long, 24/7, 365, and we do enforcement all through the district, all the major roadways, traffic violations, speeding, racing, DUI, you name it. We don't discriminate. Any area, every area, complaint, no complaint, day, night, we're there. We're constantly trying to address that as best we can. And when we get complaints, we'll focus more on that area and see what we can do to respond to that complaint. But we're definitely aware.
Okay, Ian.
Thank you. Hearing that noise is one of the primary concerns here and for the immediate residents in the nearby area, I just want to point out that very often speed bumps can increase, not decrease the amount of noise. You replace perhaps the loudest speeders for the repeated and constant noise of cars going over speed bumps. In the past, the board has supported speed humps for a similar reason. I don't know what the general speeds are there or what the acoustics of the area would be. I just want to see if the board has any appetite for making a small amendment to say speed bumps or speed humps, just to give more flexibility in the interpretation of resolution. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I believe we can put the wordsmiths together and put together a more comprehensive resolution going forward. That'll be better. But in the meantime, we can still do the motion. So is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. Okay, are there any objections to adopting the motion to support speed bumps on Akala Lane and Palm Drive? Okay, seeing none, we have our motion. And yeah, if this, for sure, we'll stay in touch, and if it continues being a problem, we'll keep this on the agenda. Oh, sorry. The next meeting will be in January, on the third Thursday. Oh, what will happen next? Well, we get to send. The motion is not much. We get to send. How does the motion work? We send. Yeah, it goes to the mayor's office. And DTS. Okay. Next we have the Discussion and motion to coordinate efforts on little fire ants. Eric.
So I have been asked by Hawaii Ant Lab of Hawaii to conduct little fire ant application of the bait that I was trained on for my neighborhood, which is on Round Top Drive. I currently cover 10 properties in my neighborhood. I took it upon myself to do it because it has to be done within 4 weeks of each application 8 times before you start to see complete eradication of little fire ants. They give out free little fire ants kits for everybody. If you think there's fire ants in your neighborhood, I highly recommend getting these kits. You can get them from stoptheant.org, and they're free. They have a self-addressed envelope on there with a stamp, and it's very simple to put out in your yard. The more testing we get, the more mapping of little fire ants, the more funding our state can get to combat this pest. So I highly recommend people going to stoptheant.org, getting these little fire ant kits, test kits, and to see if you do have fire ants in your property. If you do, there is resources, there's training, there's support. It's pretty easy to do. I just did my 3rd application of the bait in our neighborhood 2 days ago. It's my 3rd application so far. I've already seen a decrease in the amount of fire ants on all the properties that I've been treating. So it is working, which is very happy to see that. And so I recommend everybody just being more aware of these ants. If you're getting bit and it's not a mosquito, it could be these little fire ants. They're very, very small. They're hard to see. There is a lot of support now. The word's getting out, and unfortunately, this problem is spreading throughout our island. We are becoming Big Island very quickly, unfortunately. But if we get more people involved and people stepping up, like myself, to treat your neighborhood, I think we really can slow down the spread and prevent this from becoming a major problem everywhere. So it does work. The bait does work. This process does work, and there is hope, but we need to act on it now. So I highly recommend reaching out to the Hawaii Ant Lab, or if you go on to stoptheant.org for more information.
Okay, I guess, is there any other discussion on this? I'm afraid we don't have too much, I guess, in the way of emotion. Yeah, so I think we might go ahead and keep this on the agenda for now, just in the interest of time, since we do have the safety issue of traffic concerns coming up. So with no further discussion, we'll go ahead and move on ahead to the discussion and motion to address traffic concerns nearby Chick-fil-A Makiki at 1056 South Tantalus Street. Okay, and I think there are a number of folks from the Queen Victoria building. Would any of them like to start? Or if Kevin would like to say something at this time from Chick-fil-A.
I'm definitely happy to speak. I don't know if Queen Victoria has any comments.
Hi, this is Lindsay Chambers.
And Deb Uemura.
Okay, I guess we'll go ahead. We'll start with Lindsay, and then we'll give Kevin a chance to respond, and then back to Deb. So we'll start with Lindsay.
All right, thank you for the opportunity to speak on the ongoing issues related to the opening of Chick-fil-A. It's important that we address these safety issues because Chick-fil-A recently filed for a building permit for a location at the corner of Kalakaua and Kapiolani, another major artery in and out of Waikiki. So hopefully awareness about the Makiki safety issues we've been facing can prevent similar negative impacts on a major Honolulu roadway. The board was copied on a letter to DTS Director Roger Morton where these concerns were outlined in detail. As a brief overview, here are just some of the major issues and not all. Illegal parking by Chick-fil-A customers along Beretania Street to pick up mobile orders because there is no parking lot. The drive-through backs up and results in dangerous traffic conditions on Beretania Street, obstructing an active lane of a public roadway, sometimes straddling 2 lanes if there's parked cars. Sidewalk obstruction by Chick-fil-A drive-through customers queuing up to order and blocking the sidewalk at the entrance. Customers also park illegally on the sidewalk to retrieve mobile orders. We have shared solutions with CFA, the city and state officials in prior discussions, which includes requiring Chick-fil-A to conduct a traffic study of the impacted areas. And we met with Councilmember Say last week, and he said that this study was to occur 1 year after opening. So we're not sure if it was fulfilled. And specifically for this board to consider adjusting the no parking hours along Beretania Street to create a safer queuing space for the drive-through lines so they don't straddle 2 lanes of traffic, which is currently happening right now. The street parking adjustment I know will impact neighboring businesses, but I want to emphasize that this is solely because of the impact from Chick-fil-A's operations. We want to support the mom and pop businesses, especially the restaurants around us, but Chick-fil-A has negatively disrupted the ability for customers to safely access them. And lastly, we need board intervention because Chick-fil-A local and national representatives have suddenly stopped responding to concerns from residents. While they might claim that local team is in touch with the QVR condo resident manager, I was privy to an email sent by CFA's corporate office that instructed him to speak to only the corporate office located in California. So unable to relay real-time traffic safety issues if we're directed to a national contact who has not responded to residents directly. Thanks for your time and attention to this matter.
Okay. And like I said, I'll give Kevin an opportunity to respond.
Does Deborah have any comments prior, or you want me to respond right now?
No. Well, if you're happy to hear Deb out first, we'll go ahead with Deb.
Yeah, I'd like to be aware of every running.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Kevin. And thank you to the board for letting us speak. My concerns, of course, I posed them to HPD. So my concerns are mainly dealing with the safety issues and pedestrian vehicle access along Beretania, which is a major artery, as well as some of the side streets. But we got a notice, and thank you to Senator Fukunaga, about the Bill 24 from the City Council, and this is dealing with the revised primary urban center redevelopment plan. Part of that plan directly is on Wilder, Ward, Kinau, and South Beretania streets, as well as King streets. So that has even more of an impact that if we don't address these issues that are taking place now, the potential for more traffic issues and potential for pedestrian and vehicle accidents, which have already happened, I think will increase. So that will bring in some more safety concerns, not only for vehicles, but for pedestrians trying to access areas and just walking. I do a lot of walking because it doesn't make sense for me to drive anymore sometimes. And I will say that it gets a little hairy sometimes. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Okay, Kevin.
All right, thank you, Chair and Makiki Board, for letting us chat on or speak on this. Hi, Lindsay, Deb. I mean, just to add on to their comments, I mean, one of the things that we always like just pointing out is, you know, as a business, Zane Didasco, the owner-operator, he is a local, grew up in Palolo, went to Kamehameha schools his whole life, graduated over there. He now lives in Makiki with his wife, with his 3 daughters. So one of the things just firstly we want to point out is, you know, Makiki is not only a place of business for us, but it literally is Zane's home. I'm from here myself. I grew up with Zane. I've known him since I was around 8 years old. And so for me too, I mean, yes, Makiki is a place of business for our restaurant, but more importantly, it is our home, and we want to take care of our Makiki neighborhood and work with all of our neighbors. In light of that, I mean, one of the things that Zane did when he first got selected to be the local owner operator for our Makiki location is prior to opening, he went around and he actually introduced himself personally to almost all of our immediate neighbors. Farley, the resident manager at Admiral Thomas, Jason, Anders, Young, Honolulu Museum of Art, Pastor Kim, First United Methodist Church, our friends across the street at McDonald's, Virgia and Yvonne, Jessica, the owner of Fancy Fresh, Principal Lay Hall at Queen Ka'ahumana Elementary School. And to Lindsay's comments, we have been in direct communication with the president of the Queen Victoria Board, Robert Godby, as well as the resident manager, Michael Schatz. We did receive communication from a couple of residents at Queen Victoria. And as a result of that communication, our Chick-fil-A corporate partners, they actually told us, they said, hey, you know, we'd actually like to take point with communication with those residents. So there's a number of people that corporate is in communication with. Otherwise, every other name I just mentioned, they have both my personal cell phone number, my personal email address, as well as Zane's, and they are more than welcome to contact us. If you talk to any of them, we have responded to their comments, messages, calls, texts, anything within 24 hours or less. So a big part of what Zane and I are trying to do as the people running this business is make sure that communication is open, because we do want to be responsive. Some of the examples I'll give you guys is Queen Victoria. When we first opened, they commented about lights from our flagpole actually shining into some of the residences. So recently we were in the process of doing modifications to improve our guest experience on our lot. And we contacted corporate. We said, hey, can we also look at relocating the flagpole? So that got completely relocated to the other side of our entrance, mitigating light, I guess, pollution that was going into the Queen Victoria Towers. In terms of blocking ingress and egress to the driveways for Queen Victoria, we collaborated with the Queen Victoria Board and submitted requests to the Department of Transportation Services and got special exceptions approved to put up signage in front of their entrance and exit. Because originally these were in violation of the MUTCD code, so we got special approval from them. Chick-fil-A paid for the fabrication, installation of these do not block driveway signs at the ingress and egress of Queen Victoria. Immediately after the installation, some of the residents commented, they said, hey, the signs are too high. Can you guys bring them down? So we re-engaged Safety Systems Hawaii. We asked them to relocate the signs. We've also heard comments, of course, about the illegal parking. So we have prominent signage at our front counters explicitly stating that guests visiting our front counter or walk-up windows, they need to be parked in legal stalls. We've also tested the idea of putting messaging cards in drive-through bags as people are leaving to once again emphasize the fact that, hey, we're the new kids on the block. We want to be good, respectful neighbors of everyone around us. And so for us, everything we're doing is trying to message the community saying, hey, we're aware of these things and we do want to do something about it. Lastly, I'll comment. I mean, I don't know if everyone's aware of how, I guess, the Chick-fil-A franchise operation works, but Chick-fil-A corporate actually selects the location, they construct the building, they handle all of the DPP requirements, all of the DOH requirements, pretty much everything leading up to us opening and running the business is pretty much set up by corporate. And it was a 3-year process for them to go through that permitting process, because very important to Chick-fil-A is abiding by the law. As it stands today, we are operating in full compliance with all applicable laws. And yeah, I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we've heard quite a bit of discussion from both, or quite a few comments, excuse me, from both Queen Victoria and Chick-fil-A. So I'll now turn this over to board. Do we have any, I see questions from the board. So I see Corinne. Unfortunately, I believe we only have time for a couple of comments from the board, and I'm afraid we might have to defer any action to January just because of time. So we'll go ahead with Corinne.
I haven't noticed the sandwich boards lately that instruct people where they shouldn't be parking. Did you guys remove those for a reason, or? And that's, I guess,
Yes,
a question
we
for
were-
Chick-fil-A. Yeah.
Yeah, we were contacted by one of the DPP inspectors. notating that those sandwich boards are actually illegal and not allowed. What ended up happening is we responded to this inspector saying, hey, you know, we're working with QVR, we're working with DTS, we're literally in the process of getting do not block driveway signage approved by DTS so that it could get installed. And he ended up responding back saying, hey, you know what, I see that you guys have submitted the application for this. It looks like you guys are being proactive with trying to address the situation. You guys can leave the sandwich boards up until those MUTCD compliant do not block driveway signs get installed. Once those signs get installed, the sandwich boards have to come down. So to your point, we no longer are allowed to use those because we got essentially cited by a DPP investigator or inspector.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. Any further discussion from any board members? Okay, seeing none, I believe Lindsay, actually, you had a request that we have a motion, a more specific motion, I believe, regarding removing parking. If you could just email me that again, and I can put that on the January agenda. I'm afraid we are just about out of time, and I don't believe we have any specific motions or actions that we are considering. So I apologize. Thank you so much for taking the time to show up. For yeah, Lindsay, Deb, and wow, I'm sorry, the Kevin. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you guys in January with a more specific action that the board can take. Okay, moving on to City and County of Honolulu elected official reports. As I said, we are running dry on time, so we'll be snappy. Starting with Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative. We have Denise here.
Aloha and good evening, Chair. I'm hoping that the mayor's newsletter is available on the table, and in the interest of time, I'm just going to breeze right through this. The sewer fee was top, of course, and I just want to applaud Deputy Director O'Keefe's presentation. It was very informative. The Royal Hawaiian Band blessed its new home in the Waikiki Vista. It's the band's first ever permanent home in its 188-year history. I did want to jump to Alawai Bridge. The Alawai Pedestrian Bridge Project, DTS, to encourage community involvement, held a workshop, I believe it was yesterday, at Alawai Elementary. The next workshop will be on Saturday, November 23rd at 10 a.m. And then I want to address the issue. There was one pending issue for the racing and speeding concerns on South King Street. It was responded to by HPD, and the response, and I know the lieutenant was there, but their official response to report back to the board was from October 22nd to November 12th. District 1 patrol officers monitored the area between Pi'ikoi, Keamoku, and South King Streets to address the concerns about street racings. During these checks, officers did not observe any illegal racing or violations. Akala Lane and Palm Drive were also checked for speed limit violations, but none were observed. So officers, as the lieutenant said, officers will continue to monitor the areas and take appropriate action. The public is encouraged to call 911 when they see or hear illegal activities. The response from DTS on installing speed bumps. DTS previously investigated the speeding concerns on Akala Lane and Palm Drive, which included a review of their records, a review of the area's traffic collision history, and a speed study. So the records indicated that both of these lanes and the drive is privately owned. A review of the area's traffic collision history within the past 3 years did not find any trends related to speeding, and a speed study did not find that excessive speeding was occurring on either street. So as such, DTS does not recommend the installation of speed humps on Akala Lane and Palm Drive. And so I'm sorry, that may not be what you want to hear, but that is their response. Last but not least, I do want to bid this board and the members of the community in attendance a fond aloha. This will be my last meeting. I will be leaving the city and starting a new position as the executive director of Catholic Charities Hawaii's housing development arm, which is right up the street. Thank you so much for letting me be part of your community engagement each month. Mahalo.
Well, thank you very much. And good luck. And I'm sure since you're at Catholic Charities, we'll be in touch anyway. Just 'cause. Okay. And moving on to council members say.
Good evening, board members. I'll be very brief, Neil. My report is in the chat, and I just want to wish all of you the very best. And I'm also going to be leaving public service come the end of the year. Thank you.
I think his many years of public service cannot be quite nearly understated quite as much as that the single bit of statement from Calvin say there. He's been incredible in serving us in his public service. I'm not much of a speaker, but thank you so much. And good luck. Yep.
I just have a Councilman say. Can you take a look at this tree on the corner of Wilder and Pensacola? There's a dangerous overhanging branch. And this is that banyan tree on the Eva Mackay corner there.
Okay, Chastity or Janelle, did you take the notes down on behalf of Mr. Kawano? She's there. Just Chastity Santiago.
Got
Okay.
it. We got it.
Okay.
Okay, once again, thank you so much, Calvin, and good luck on retirement. Okay, next up, Council Member Tyler DeSantos Tam's office.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So to be brief, our newsletter's in the chat as well. 1617 Alapai Street, we are still contacting DPP on an answer of how they're reviewing the plans and reassessing the community concerns that have come our way. And for Harris Nakamoto, Lynn will be attending next Monday's Nice Neighbors meeting. She's looking forward to it. And also there's the woman who was injured in front of Kay's laundromat. Lynn Robinson on Jericho is also trying to reach her. I don't know if you folks know her personally, but Lynn's been trying to call and she hasn't been able to reach her just yet. But if you folks know of her, and that's going to be my report for right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Robin. And then we'll move on to the State of Hawaii elected official reports with Governor Josh Green's representative, Russell Pang.
Aloha, thank you, Chair. Aloha, everybody. Good evening. I put Governor Green's newsletter in the chat room, so you can all take a look at that. Just a couple items. I did want to let you know that there will be a lane closure on Keomoku Street in the southbound direction. I think it's been going on this week. It's continuing next week. This is between the H1 freeway and Matlock Avenue. And this is for HART to install some cameras, traffic cameras. So that work is continuing. It'll be between the hours of 8:30 to 3 p.m. Again, a single lane closure in the southbound direction on Keomoku Street between H1 freeway and Matlock Avenue. So please be aware of that. That will take place for next week. That'll take place Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There will be no lane closures over the Thanksgiving holiday. Thank goodness. Did want to also let you folks know that the Department of Transportation's homeless outreach team continues to closely monitor the homeless encampments in the Makiki, Tantalus, and Punchbowl area. They have done weekly or continue to do weekly outreach and cleanup in the Little Street area around the Makiki post office in that area. Also on the shoulder, H1 shoulder areas along Cartwright Park and Makiki District Park, as well as the overhang areas along Magellan Avenue, and that's across from Dole Park. And they are continuing to work with the Department of Hawaiian Homelands to monitor the area around Prospect Street. I think that's near the Royal Vista condominiums. Last month, they worked with the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, as well as HPD and various service providers to clear out the area, and they're continuing to monitor and will take appropriate action as needed. Finally, Governor Green has issued a proclamation declaring this week, November 18 to 24, as Crash Responder Safety Week in Hawaii. And this is designed to raise awareness of the risk that our crash responders face while they're on duty. And this includes police officers, firefighters, emergency medical service personnel, tow truck operators, flagmen, all of those folks you see on the side of the road responding to crashes and assisting people who may need some towing or their vehicle got stalled. So we want to remind everybody of the Hawaii Move Over Law, which requires if you see an emergency vehicle on the side of the road, you are required to move over, slow down, and if it's safe, to move over to the next lane. So just be aware of that. That's all I have. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Russell. Moving on to Senator Carol Fukunaga.
Good evening, board members. In the interest of time, I'm distributing copies of my newsletter that was just mailed out. I want to thank the resident from Queen Victoria who mentioned Bill 24 at the council. It has not come up in this month's committee meeting, so there's still an opportunity to solicit public comment. In the meantime, in the Senate, we had a majority retreat this week. Property insurance continues to be a very hot button item, and I'll probably be working with some of the engineering folks that Member Lee has introduced me to, and we'll be putting together a package of consumer protection bills to help condo residents. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'm afraid we don't have time for questions. So if you have any, please take them up with the senator outside the meeting. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to Representative Della Obalati.
Good evening, Chair. Tom Heinrich here. Hang on one second. Okay, there we are. Just two things real quick, also in the interest of time. First, I congratulate the Senate for being organized. They have selected their leadership as well as announced their committees and committee chairs. So they're well on their way. On the House side, we have selected the Speaker, Vice Speaker, a couple other majority leadership positions. We are still waiting for the House committees and committee chairs list to come out. So hopefully we have that by tomorrow or by next week before Thanksgiving. But there will be some reorganization of committees and committee chairs. Secondly, and this is one that, Chair, I can send to you, but if anybody is interested directly, during this meeting, I just got an email with updated information for a Crafting a People's Budget community meeting, both in person and Zoom, on Tuesday, December 3rd. The in-person meeting place is at the Mililani High School library. But we have an Earl to be able to connect up to that meeting. And this crafting a people's budget discussion, this would actually be the fourth community meeting, is very much part of the effort that you were talking about earlier tonight in your consideration of that resolution discussing some proposed government reforms that Representative Bellotti also spoke to. So if you're interested in that or whatever, be very happy to provide the registration link for that. And I'll stop there. Thanks, Chair.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tom. And then next up, we have our newest representative, Ikaika Olds.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I am actually downstairs. It's okay. I think you guys are up here. Yeah.
Yep. Is it
Yep.
locked?
Hey, door's locked, but it's all good. Hi everybody. My name is Ikaika Olds. I represent District 23. I just got a laptop and the email, so I am firmly positioned to take any questions. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time and actually being downstairs. Looks like we're letting you in.
Oh.
So you can at least. I'm afraid we probably won't have time for you in the meeting, but it'll be great to put a name to the face outside the meeting. Thank you so much. Moving on to Representative Andrew Garrett. Okay. Nobody from Andrew Garrett's office, so really quick then, moving on to community concerns from residents. Residents not board members can share comments and concerns that are not listed on the agenda per the Sunshine Law. Concerns not on the agenda may not be presented, concerns not on the agenda may be presented, but the board cannot take action. Are there any residents who would like to make any community concerns? Okay, seeing none, board and community reports. Chuck, would you like to? Okay, nope. So we don't. Chuck is saying we don't need a neighborhood security watch report. John, is there anything from the Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization?
They're starting the 25-26 procurement cycle, so they'll be asking for input in January and February.
Okay, thank you very much, John. And then board announcements. The next regular meeting, the Makiki Lower Punchbowl Tantalus Neighborhood Board 10 is scheduled to meet on Thursday, January 16th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at Makiki District Park, the old Makiki Community Library, second floor, and online via WebEx. Meetings can be viewed on Olelo Focus 49 on the first Friday at 9 p.m. and third Sunday at 3 p.m. Follow us at www.facebook.com/neighborhood. Let me try that again. www.facebook.com/MakikiNB. And then visit www.8.honolulu.gov/NCO/NB10 for Makiki Neighborhood Board info. And do we have a motion to adjourn? Ooh. Okay, and seconded by Richard, and we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you very much and have a good night.